Ryan, let's talk about Oscar Isaac's new movie coming out Friday from writer-director Paul Schrader, The Card Counter. Paul Schrader's made some heavy movies.
Yes. I think that he hasn't made any movies that aren't heavy.
Okay, that seems fair. What is that one? Dark. Why am I not familiar with that one? No, I don't know that one.
There's a few that he did in the 80s and 90s that weren't nearly as profiled, I guess. I mean, he so yeah. I mean, his career kind of, I guess, people they weren't as interested in his stories for a while.
Right.
He still got great actors in a lot of his films, but it's different again. It's First Reformed, I think, kind of changed a lot of things. His last
First
film.
Reformed was dark.
Ethan Hawke and
that one was crazy.
But
no, the Card Counter, heavy. Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, Ty Sheridan, and Willem Dafoe. Oscar Isaac is a veteran who was a military interrogator during the Gulf War and at sites post-Gulf War where terrorists were interrogated by most means necessary and some unnecessary.
I think some would argue that they weren't all necessary terrorists.
Yes, which plays into a lot of this. He gets out of prison for his role and becomes a gambler, this itinerant circuit gambler. But he's not like he's a professional gambler that's not a professional gambler. He gambles for what he needs, not for max.
Correct. He keeps a very low profile.
Yes. And he's recruited by Tiffany Haddish to kind of join her stable of gamblers to get a backer and maybe earn a lot more money. And he's not into that until he meets Ty Sheridan's character, who he kind of takes under his wing. Kirk with a C, the first C, not the second C. And he decides he needs to help this kid out for reasons that the movie develops as we go. And so he kind of decides he's going to do that. This is a gambling movie,
sort of,
without a lot of gambling.
It is a gambling movie, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this.
There's actually, I realized this as I was watching the film. There's like more poker, because he plays blackjack because he counts cards.
Yes.
And that's the easiest card game to count. Not that any of them are easy, but obviously, you go on the poker circuit, the money's in Texas Hold'em.
Yes.
So he's playing that. Now there's more Hold'em in Daniel Craig's Casino Royale than there is in this film.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the card counter aspect of him is more of define him as a character.
Yes.
It presents him it's a methodology of the way he approaches life.
It's it's a metaphor.
To a great extent, yeah.
But that being said, it just seems there's a lot of exposition about card counting.
Sure.
In the beginning, and then the cards are almost completely discarded. Pardon the pun. By halfway through the film, except as we have to travel too, and then the rest of it becomes Oscar Isaac, Ty Sheridan, Tiffany Haddish, and dealing with Willem Dafoe and his involvement in his past.
Yes.
So, while I get that the card counter is a metaphor, and I can appreciate that, I don't know. I feel like that now there's a hole in the film, because it's not like the film is overly long that they needed to cut stuff out.
No, I just think Paul's, Paul was interested in certain things, and uh, you know, well, okay. So
Go
I
ahead.
should okay. Let me qualify this a little bit.
Okay.
One of my good friends did the score for this movie, um, and so Paul. Uh, Kind of it wasn't Paul kind of made the film he wanted to make, realizing that it's it wouldn't necessarily be the sort of film that teachers would bring up in film class as this is how you make a movie. It's the movie that he wanted to make, and with no apologies.
Well, and he's earned that right.
Sure.
So let's be clear on that.
Here's the thing that's kind of interesting about it. It's actually filled with Easter eggs to a lot of his other films, and directly connected to a film from 1992 called Light Sleeper, which also stars Willem Dafoe as a drug dealer who's gone clean. So there's all sorts of little things scattered throughout this film that are so, as my friend put it, a Schraderverse or Shredderverse, that you won't catch all of them. So I think that there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie, with the director who basically says, I have a story I want to tell, and I'm going to mess with you a little bit as well while we're doing it.
Fair enough. I didn't dislike this film. There were a couple of how did Caitlin put it? Oh yes, it had some pacing issues. I told her I just wrote the word slow and underlined it.
Yeah.
It does deal with Abu Ghraib, which, if you're not familiar with that, you should probably become familiar with that, people. And again, so it's got the military stuff. I did like the cinematic touch when they were when we were treated to Oscar Isaac's flashbacks or dream sequences about his time there, shot with a fisheye lens.
Yes.
So everything is just out of proportion and surreal. And it was, it's a physical manifestation of the surreality of the situation they were actually in at the time. And that becomes apparent as he reveals more and more of his background and his perceptions as we go through the film. I did like that. But overall, it's, for me, I mean, I'm not immersed in the Paul Schraderverse,
and I'm not either. So I did go, and it goes kind of deep in the sense that Robert, who did the score, his dad was the one who scored the 92 film. And so that's kind of, there was, and initially he was only doing a song, and it turned into a whole thing where he ended up doing the score, which apparently has a lot of stories that he has yet to tell me, but that he'll tell me right before he dies. And so I think it's an interesting film in a lot of ways. I think that it might be a little slow, a little unfocused, but what's interesting to me is how devastating the film is, and yet most of the really devastating stuff isn't shown. The final, there's kind of a final scene with Oscar Isaac and Willem Dafoe's character that is, I think, one of the most excruciating moments in cinematic history, and we're not actually seeing what's happening.
No, it's all off screen.
It's just the audio, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty bonkers, actually.
Yeah,
but
I think it's funny. This is the difference between you and me. You said it's a bit unfocused at times.
Yeah.
And I wrote muddled. I wrote muddled mess actually of motivation because for me. But yeah, so I just think our word choices are funny. No, that last sequence is really great. Between those two, I'm wondering how long he actually had Tiffany Haddish and Oscar Isaac hold that last position for over the credits, or if he slowed it down at all to stretch it out. I just thought that was a weird observation, and you'll know it when you see it.
Well, if you go through his films, he makes a lot of strange choices, and that's kind of part of what he does. And I mean, like, you know, I went back and watched Light Sleeper, and it's a really weird movie because it's in part about a drug dealer who's going clean, who wants to reconnect with his ex-wife, who doesn't want to have anything to do with him because she's going clean. And then there's somebody who's committing murders in the drug using community. It's just got all these things going on, and two of the three make sense, and then the third just seems to kind of, I mean, the murder aspect of the movie kind of seems to kind of be this red herring.
Right.
And I think there's elements of that in this. I think First Reformed was him at his absolute best, and in the sense that I think he did everything he wanted to do, and it just happened to be a very cohesive, clearly defined kind of thing.
Right.
Although it ends in I mean, there's still some kind of. I don't think he's a director that's interested in giving you the whole picture.
No.
And in fact, I think he's the kind of director that likes to not give you the full picture. And so, you know, I think if you're into what he's doing, you know, that I think that you will, you know, enjoy. I don't know, enjoy is the word. You
appreciate.
You appreciate. There you go. You will appreciate this film. It's done really. I mean, it was you know, it was out of the Venice Film Festival, where it was, you know, greeted very warmly. Reviews have been really strong, and I think that they will be strong among critics. But I don't know. I think they're going to be a little lower among regular audiences who
Probably
are expecting, you know, something different than that. It's you know, I liked a lot of it. But again, I had, you know, hey, make sure you look for this, or
right.
You know, a little bit of guiding going into it on a few things.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of it. I did enjoy the fact that, and I caught no end of crap for this when I passed it on after the screening as well, that this is finally the film that convinced me Oscar Isaac can act. And I said that, and they're like, "Did you not see Ex Machina?" I'm like, "Of course I've seen Ex Machina. Well, how could I not have seen Ex Machina?" I said, but a lot of actors could have played that role the way he did. I said, I'm not saying he was bad in it. I'm not saying it was a bad role. I'm saying that role doesn't convince me that he could act. So this role convinces me that he could act. Now, I wish the film was better overall, but I was very pleased with his performance.
Well, and I think Tiffany Haddish is really good in it.
She's very dialed back.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a different thing than what we're you know,
than we're used to seeing her do.
Yeah, and I like that. Comedy's hard. I mean, you know, so I don't want to, you know, make it suggest, well, you know, she just does comedy.
Right.
But it is nice to see range, you know, and a different side of people, and actors when they do these things. I think the performances are great. The score is experimental on purpose. It's more of a rock and roll It's really distorted, a lot of droney type sounds, and I'll have more info on that later on once I can kind of catch up with my friend. But and initially I thought, well, okay, that's probably what his father had done for the other film, but it wasn't. It was a completely different sort of mindset. So, but it is it's a lot of feedback and more experimental kind of a score, but it almost it meets the mood of the film. So
it's not, this is not a perfect film. It's a okay to good film for me. I think there's a lot of important stuff in it. Again, he's making some statements that are weirdly timed, because we are way past all of the history of this film. That's kind of been analyzed. It doesn't mean it's not important stuff. I think the timing is just weird to set it on that. But I don't know when they filmed it necessarily. I mean, they didn't film it in the last 18 months. So it had to be done before then. So it had to be written before then. So it's just, I don't know. So it was a weird setting choice, I think, background choice for me.
I think he does that though. I think he puts things in spaces that, it's obviously important to the film, but not clear. It's also not clear, when exactly is this set? I don't think.
That is also true, because this could be set in.
But again, that doesn't. I mean, so the timeliness of it, I don't know. Anyway, but I liked it. I think that you will see some people who love it, and I think you will see people who absolutely don't get it and hate it. I don't know. I think the whole gamut's going to go on this one. I think. It's going to be a little divisive for some. It's just, but it's going to be the performances more than anything, I think, that people take away on this one.
I think that's what they should take away. That these performances are good. I don't know. I'm sure they'll get names will be bandied around come award season, which is actually rapidly approaching at this point. I don't know.
I mean, I think Oscar Isaac gets a nomination.
Somewhere.
Or could get a nomination. But it also depends on what actually comes out in the next few months too, and whatnot. So there's still a lot of things. I'd have to sit down and kind of look at. It's funny, like everything is such a blur to me right now, as far as when things came out. And so it's like, I don't remember if that was this year, last year, if it qualified for the Oscars, if it didn't. I don't even half the time remember, a lot of stuff. But so off the top of my head right now, I'd have to sit down and really think about who, are there better performances out there? Are there things I like more and whatnot? But I think he probably can, I think you'd safe to say he can get some nominations out of this.
I think,
and that's going to be
a safe bet.
And maybe that's maybe that's the legacy. There is really nice performances, and go see this movie if you don't think Oscar Isaac can act. There you go.
Right? Yeah, there you go. If you haven't been convinced before now, if you're just a Poe Dameron fanboy, then he can act. It's okay with that. Ty Sheridan was not wearing a visor. How nice was that?
No, he was not wearing a visor. He's got eyes. I didn't think it was his best performance. If we're going to get, as far as like performance-wise goes, he might be the weakest.
Well, to be fair, I think his character was the weakest.
Well, that is also possible.
So it's tough to. You can't sell something that's not there. And that character's not all there in terms of development. He's there for Oscar Isaac.
He's a device of some sort.
He really is.
So I like the movie. I don't like it remotely as much as I liked First Reformed, but it wasn't trying to be First Reformed, and you got to at least give him credit for doing things that are different rather than sticking to formula or whatnot. I think if you like kind of gritty, punch you in the gut sort of drama.
Then
you'll probably dig this.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that assessment at all. So it could be better. I wish it was better, but I think if you're a fan of some darker, very gritty is the word. Yeah. There's some gritty stuff in here.
And I'm going to be honest. I was prepared for something more
brutal. Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Based on what I had been told. It was like don't tell me any details, but and I think I think it is brutal, but again, I think a lot of the brutality is off screen, and so I think that's actually a really good decision.
Yeah, I concur.
Because at no point do they really, even in the military prisons, they give you just little shades of things.
Yep.
It's never as intense as it was in Zero Dark 30, or it was in other films that have kind of it's almost like again, it was the fisheye moments. It was this distorted reality sort of thing, half remembered, half felt.
Yep.
So I think there's some nice decisions made in here. So, I'm more positive on it than negative.
I'm split, which I mean, that's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, we both tell people it's worth seeing.
Yeah, if you're an Oscar Isaac fan, I think it's worth seeing. If you're interested in seeing Tiffany Haddish do something different,
it's worth seeing.
There's just there's a lot of things that make it, worth seeing.
Yeah, worth seeing and desirable to see. So there you go. That is the card counter.
It's not a date movie, though.
It is not a date movie at all. That opens this Friday, September 10th. Yes, September 10th. Check it out if you feel comfortable going to a theater in your area. So we've got some more movies to talk about. We'll be back to do that. But until we do, don't forget to like us, follow us on social media at VS Movie Podcast. You know the drill. Hook us up. Why don't you? Ryan and I will be back. But until we do, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we'll talk to you all later.